This is topic B on page 53, inserting functions.
You've learned the usefulness of basic formulas, but at some point you will likely need to use more complex formulas that involve numerous cell and range references. Excel provides you with the ability to do this quickly and easily through a massive set of built-in formulas. Excel includes functionality to help you fill in and interpret these formulas, enabling you to focus more on the information you need to extract from your data and less on the mathematical operations themselves. Taking the time to learn how to use this functionality now will save you time, effort, and possibly a few headaches down the road. In Excel, functions are simply built-in, predefined formulas that you can quickly and easily insert into worksheet cells. Like formulas, all functions begin with an equal sign. Unlike formulas, in functions, the equal sign is followed by the function name and then a set of arguments that are in parentheses. And these arguments are separated by commas. Arguments can be cell references, constants, formulas, or even other functions or logical values. Functions use their arguments in specific ways to calculate a result. The function name is typically the name or an abbreviated version of the actual mathematical function. For example, you would use the sum function, SUM, to find the sum of a group of numbers, and you can manually type functions into worksheet cells, or you can enter them by using various commands and dialog boxes. For example, in my Chapter 2 workbook, my example workbook that I was using, we first, in our last example video, we took the total of Andy's 4-quarter sales. We did it the long way. We did equals B2 plus C2 plus D2 plus E2. Now, imagine you had many, quarters over the course of a few years that you needed to add up. It would be very time consuming to list each separate cell with your plus sign when you can simplify the process by using a function. So I'm going to use a function for Evan's 4 quarters. If I do, your function still start with an equal sign, but it's going to be followed by the function name. Since we're adding up, we're going to use the sum function. Then in parentheses, you have your arguments, which are separated by commas. But I could do the sum function, and then use the range B3 through E3. So what that's saying is, Excel, take the sum of all the numbers in this range. Add all of these numbers together, and it gives me the result 186,681. So this is just the long way of performing that sum calculation. So this result is 147,579. So if I do equals sum here of these 4 quarters, you can see it gives me the same result, but I did it much quicker. Again, it's time consuming having to type all those cell references out. So that's one way of entering functions, just by manually typing them in, as I did there. We also have the function library group. These are available to us on our formulas tab in our function library. So Excel provides you with a central location for accessing all of its available functions. And again, this is our function library group. Starting with recently used, you have a bunch of drop-downs here. So recently used, these are functions you have most recently used. When you first install Excel, you can access a set of commonly used functions from this menu. So this means I recently used the min function, max, sum, average, if, so on and so forth. If you haven't used any functions in your Excel program yet, it will just be some of the more commonly used ones. Then we have the financial category. Functions used to perform business calculations, such as determining loan repayment figures, determining the future value or net present value of an investment, and calculating asset depreciation. You can see we have a scroll bar here, many functions in our financial category. Just a tidbit of information, I use Excel very often. I never use these categories to enter my functions. I could never remember what function was in each category. There's so many functions to remember. It's hard enough to remember the syntax, which is how the function is set up, meaning, what exactly you have to type out in it. I can't remember what category it's in as well. I mean, but some people do use it this way. They might have a good memory and remember each category that the function's in. It's always an option for inserting your functions, but I just wanted to let you know it's probably the most difficult to remember. We have our logical function. These are functions that determine if an argument is true or false, or if it meets other logical conditions. Then we have our text category. And these are functions that change text values, such as making text all capital or converting numbers into dollar amounts. Then we have our date and time category. These are functions that allow you to incorporate dates and times into calculations. You might use these, for example, to determine how many workdays occur between two specific dates. Next, we have our lookup and reference category. These are functions that allow you to look up a particular cell value or reference from a range or table given specific criteria. Then you have your math and trig category. Formulas that perform a number of different mathematical or trigonometric calculations. You have a scroll here. You can see all the functions that are available within this category. And then we even have more functions with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 additional categories. We have statistical. These include a whole lot. Engineering. I have a whole lot here as well. Cube. We have a few there. Information. Compatibility. You can see there are so many functions in Excel. Impossible to remember which category they're in, just in my personal use. And I've been proficient in Excel for many years. I'll never remember what category is which. But anyway, it is an option for you. And during our activities, we'll be going through the steps to use the categories. Like if I was using, let me see. Again, I have to check and make sure that the function is in this category before I even use it. Okay, so let's say I wanted to use the sum function for Sarah. I would go to the math and trig drop-down, choose the sum function. Now this opens what we call our function arguments dialog box. Instead of just typing it in there, it tells us what we need in each of our arguments. Remember, your arguments are separated by commas. Now, we only need technically one argument here because we're taking a range of numbers. So if I hit this button here, this will collapse my dialog box just in case I need more room. And I can select the range B4 through E4 because I'm taking the sum of those four numbers. I can expand my dialog box again. I just want to verify that my syntax here for my range is correct and click OK. And it gives me my result. So that's how you use those categories to use your functions. Okay, now we're going to take a look at our insert function dialog box. This dialog box enables you to search for and insert into cells any of the available functions in Excel. The dialog box also displays a brief description of whatever function you have selected and provides a link to open the Excel help. So you can access your insert function dialog box from two places. Up on your formulas tab in your function library, here we have our insert function command. And also, I mentioned earlier, the FX button. This is also the insert function button. So these two command buttons do the same thing, which is open our insert function dialog box. So if I was working on Jose's total sales here, I can hit either of these buttons. You can see it automatically puts the equal sign in for me. Then in the search for a function field, you put whatever function you're looking for. Well, I'm looking for the sum function, so I can type that in. I can click go, and it will give me a list of options at the bottom here. So obviously I want the first sum function. Click OK, and this is also going to bring me to my function arguments dialog box. You don't have to collapse your dialog box in order to select your range of cells that you're using, which is this. Just makes it smaller. You don't have to use that. That's just in case, the dialog box is too big and it's like covering the numbers you need, but you don't necessarily have to do that. I have a habit of not collapsing it at all. Just takes up time for me. I really don't need to waste the time. So I just click to drag my range, B5 through E5 for Jose, puts the syntax in there for me, click OK, and I get his total sales. Okay, so that's using the insert function dialog box. We also have our auto sum feature. Adding up the values in a row or a column is the single most common mathematical calculation most people perform in Excel. Excel provides you with a fast and easy way to do this, which is the auto sum feature. The auto sum feature enables you to calculate the total of the values in a row or a column simply by selecting a single button and then pressing enter. The auto sum feature will automatically try to guess which cells you would like to add together if you use it on a cell or in a row or column that contains values. AutoSum first looks for cells above, and then it will look for cells to the left of the active cell. For instance, if I was taking Chan's total sales, I have cell F6 selected. My AutoSum feature is on my Formulas tab in my Function Library group. Here's my AutoSum command. Now, if I hit the button at the top, it's going to do AutoSum, which is add values together. But from our drop-down, you can select sum from here as well. And there's other functions, which we'll be learning about very shortly, that you can automatically take the average of some values. You can count how many numbers there are. You can take the highest value out of a range, which is the max function, or you can take the lowest value out of a range, which is the min function. But hitting the button at the top is automatically going to take the sum of values. Now, Excel sees that we have values above our active cell where we're putting the calculation in F6. So it's trying to guess that these are the values that we want to add together, which obviously here in this instance is incorrect. We want to look for the values to the left. So we can simply correct that just by clicking and dragging and selecting the cells. Still keeps the sum function there, but it corrects the range for our arguments. So we have B6 through E6, hit enter, we get our value. Okay, so that is our auto sum feature. All right, so we took a look at our sum function, which is obviously adding values together. We also have a few other ones that we're going to be taking a look at, which is first our average function. This adds the values specified by the arguments and then divides the total by the number of individual values. So it's just taking the average. So if I needed the average function, or the average of Andy's quarter sales, I'm going to select cell G2, and we'll use our auto sum dropdown for this. So you can see the syntax equals average, and then parentheses, well, it's taking the average of B2 through F2. That is not what we want. We do not want to include the total value in our average. So we can correct this just by reselecting the range. B2 through E2, the average quarterly sales that Andy has, $36,894.75. Okay, so that's an example of your average function. We also have the count function. And this counts the number of cells specified in the arguments that contain a numeric entry. So if I wanted to count, let's say, how many quarter one sales we had here. I'm just going to do this down here since I don't have a spot for this. The syntax for it is equal count. And this is actually a good time to explain the autocomplete, the formula autocomplete. You can start typing the function the function name. So if I was using the count function equals CO, and a menu will automatically pop up listing all of the functions that start with those letters. The more you type in, the more it will narrow it down. Once you see it on that autocomplete dropdown, you can double click the function name and it will input the rest of the syntax for you. And it will always give you a little screen tip of what the arguments are contained in that function. Because arguments will be different as we get into more complex functions. Right now, it's pretty much just a range of numbers. So if I wanted to count how many quarter one sales we have here, equals count, and then my argument would be cells or the range B2 through B10. It's going to count out of this range, how many numerical entries are there? Put my ending parentheses and click enter. It tells me there are 9 numeric entries. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Now, let's say I did equals count, start typing it in, double click for my autocomplete, but I also included the label quarter one. So I did the range B1 through B10, ending parentheses. I added a cell there, but look, the answer is still going to be 9. Again, it's only counting numeric entries. This is actually considered a text entry. It's a label. If I did, let's do another example, equal count, double click that from my autocomplete, A1 through H1. What do you think the answer would be for this function? Remember, it counts the numeric entries. Hit enter, tells me it's 0. They're all labels here. One last example, we'll do equals count. Whoops. And we'll do A10 through E10. What do you think the result would be here? Remember, it's counting the numerical entries. So out of that range, we have 4 numerical entries. Daphne is a text entry, 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, so that is the count function. Then we have the max function, and this returns the largest numeric value out of all numeric values in the arguments. So let's say I was looking for the highest quarter sales out of all of my sales reps. I could do equals, using the max function. So I can start typing that in, double click it. Then I can select the range of all the quarter sales, which would be B2 through E10. The highest sales value here is going to be 53,000, which is, where is 53,000? There we go. Sarah's first quarter sales. She had the highest sales out of all sales reps, all 4 quarters. So you can see, it took me a while just to go through these 4 very short columns to find the highest value. And that was only when I already knew what the value was. So you can see how valuable these functions are. Now, for the lowest, the highest is the max function, equals max. The lowest value it can pull out is going to be the min function for minimum. So that's equals MIN. Double click that to select it from our formula autocomplete. And we can select the same range, E2 B2 through E2. Now, if I had to go through and manually figure out which one was the smallest here, my eyes already hurt just from looking. It would probably take me forever. The min function tells us this is 27,515. So quickly scanning over this. This is going to be Daphne's fourth quarter sales. She had the lowest in the fourth quarter out of everybody. All right. So you can see, again, how valuable these functions are. Imagine a massive, massive worksheet of sales representatives. Could be multiple years of quarters. Nobody wants to sit and, dissect all of that data one cell at a time. Now, if we wanted the difference between the highest and lowest, that would just be an easy equation. We could do equals B12 minus B13. The difference between the highest sales and the lowest sales is 25,485. Okay, but most importantly, remember all of the choices for using functions. You can type it all out if you remember the syntax of it. You can use your insert function dialog box where you can search for it and then use your function arguments. You can use your categories on your formulas tab of your ribbon to choose your function from there. You have a few for your auto sum dropdown. And you can also use your formula autocomplete. So that's starting out to type it and then double clicking it and inserting your arguments. Now you can actually combine some of these different options. I could start with my formula autocomplete by typing it, double clicking to select it, but maybe I don't like typing my arguments out directly in the cell. It can get complicated because some of these arguments are very complex. After I use that formula autocomplete to start my function off, I can then hit my insert function dialog box and it's automatically going to know what function I'm using, and then I can enter my arguments from here. And that is a much easier way for a lot of people. Sometimes I find myself doing that as well if I can't remember the exact syntax for specific function arguments. So this really simplifies the process for you. And you'll see that as we go along with more complex functions. All right, but for now, in the next video, we'll continue with activity 2.2 on page 75.
That's activity 2.2 on page 63, inserting functions.